Hello, everyone, and welcome to P2P Group Company Webcast. My name is Ben Shamsian, Vice President at Lytham Partners, and today we welcome Ed Clark, CEO of P2P Group, who will be taking us through his slide presentation. P2P trades under PPB under the Canadian Stock Exchange. With that, let's get started. Ed, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks for having me today. Looking forward to talking today about a topic that's actually become quite interesting. I see a lot of posts on X and or in YouTube. People really fascinated by the fact that you can use Wi-Fi signal to sense the physical world, and this is something we've been developing for the last couple of years, and really excited to share that because we've now got applications across healthcare, military, retail, and today's a great opportunity to sort of walk through that, talk about how it works and the opportunities that come from all of the work we're doing in these spaces. So getting into what we're doing, essentially everyone has a home Wi-Fi system. That Wi-Fi system can become some intelligence from your home. And so what we've been doing is developing a way to work in different sectors. So for example, home security, your home router system can become your home security system just by sensing intruders, sensing people hanging around outside your front door or side door. We can extend it into aged care where we can sense falls. We can look at the quality of life of people. So your grandma is home alone, or your grandpa's home alone. You can actually check that they're healthy and happy. They haven't had any incidents, and their daily living is not suffering from any kind of illness just by monitoring their movements inside the house. We also have retail applications where privacy laws mean you can't use cameras for retail intelligence anymore, and so we're helping people get foot traffic information, consumer data, and activities based on store layouts, mall layouts, and things like this. And then we'll go into some of the military use cases. So as you mentioned, PPB trades on the CSE, on the OTC, we're PPBGF, and the company is fairly young, hitting revenue at the moment. So I'll highlight some of these things today in the presentation. The first is the accomplished team and some really exciting advisory board members, which I'll talk about. There's a huge market demand here. We're constantly coming up to solve new use cases, from healthcare to oil and gas and mining, all the way through to things like aged care and even fast food. So it's a super interesting space because it deletes probably 90% of the costs of traditional IoT businesses by using the Wi-Fi sensing that's already existing in the environment. The next piece is the scalable competitive edge. We're a first mover. We really see an opportunity to move at 95% plus gross margin. There's no real cost barriers to entry or to trial, which means that companies can do proof of concepts, pilots, and build on our platform without having to have significant investments, which again is very different than the traditional ways of people rolling out hardware for sensing in the legacy models, where people would have to pay a couple of $100,000 to test if something works. And most importantly for today, it's a really unique point for investors to enter. Market cap is around $15 million. And when I talk about the team, myself, my CTO, and some of the people involved, you can see that this is built to go many multiples, we think, of where we are today, based on both the pipeline and the quality of the team and the experience and where we see this company going. So I'll work through some of that. In terms of the company structure, about 100 million shares are outstanding. It's a very tightly held, so it'll be 70 to 80% now in a circle. So it's a tight structure. It's a lot of people that have been involved in previous companies, and myself and the other directors have followed on in multiple placements with us to get this company up and running. So it's very difficult to get a big chunk of stock. So the free float is quite small. So it's an exciting structure to be involved in, from the technical perspective. So talking about the problem that we have today, and that is that the cost of sensing. So for example, in the aged care space now, to get a smart home for grandma or grandpa to look at falls, to check that they've gone to the kitchen and had their meals, used the bathroom, haven't fallen in the shower, have got out of bed, you're looking at a $10,000 to $15,000 hardware setup and then high monthly fees. We can turn that $10,000 setup into a $0 to $200 implementation and provide better information than the traditional hardware devices can offer. So it fully transforms both the quality of care, but also the number of people, the addressable market that can afford this type of care. We've been talking in North America, Switzerland, all the way through to India and Cambodia, where we can provide a high level of healthcare for a cost that's affordable worldwide in any market. So it's a very exciting space where we're looking at the telcos, the aged care and healthcare providers, as well as individuals. The next piece is the cybersecurity risks around these systems. So traditionally, people using IoT sensors are using sensors from multiple companies, which means you've got multiple points of failure in the cybersecurity space, and it causes a lot of headaches for these companies that are managing these systems. So being able to centralize anything in one Inturi device means that you can actually really simplify your operations and secure your business against cyber threats, which are becoming more and more apparent. And so let's talk about what we can do. And I'll just give an example of the healthcare space. So in the healthcare space, with your home Wi-Fi router, we can actually sense things like, as I mentioned, break-ins. We can actually, from Wi-Fi signals, sense heart rate and breathing patterns wirelessly of people in bed or people on their favorite chair where they watch TV. So we can monitor that there's no heart attacks, strokes, accidents in places where people are stationary for a long amount of time. We can also look at falls and things like this. So it's a very simple platform to deploy, but there's really endless events that we can sense off the platform, and we're empowering people to train and deploy those events for their use cases. So I'll talk a bit about the team, which is really important. So myself, Ed Clark, I'm the CEO of the company. I've built an ASX 200 company, all tech index. My last company was a logistics platform, which we took to about 400 million market cap. I've also invested and supported companies in the aged care space that are #1 company in Australia. I've started marketing tech and communications tech platforms. My background is starting companies from zero, which we've done here, and taking them, to, as I said, the 50 to 400 million market cap fairly quickly. And so when I put this company together, I looked at who are the best people to get involved. And I'd done previously a global search for a CTO, and Sudhakar came up head in that global search. At the time for my previous company, I couldn't actually employ him because of COVID and him not being able to move, but he'd been running a hugely successful Silicon Valley company. He built their platform from the ground up to 200 million annual revenue. I spoke to him about what we were doing here in terms of transforming sensing from legacy IoT sensing devices to using Wi-Fi, and he straight away jumped at the chance to join the company. And his previous tech platform was ranked by Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn founder and venture capitalist, as the best tech platform he'd ever seen. And I've got quotes of that in an article. And so he's a really great addition. And as I spoke about, we've got some real interest in the military space. And recently we announced that a gentleman that is a 2-star general in the Canadian Navy, was the head of future technologies, works across now intelligence and military, and the Canadian government has joined our advisory board, as we have a very aggressive military expansion plan, working with things like drones and other areas, which I'll demonstrate shortly. Now, in the healthcare space, to give you an example of what we're doing, we are working currently with a company which we announced a few months ago, where they have 50,000 homes where they're having to deploy $10,000 to $15,000 of hardware to get good sensing. We're able to work with them to replace, as that technology phases out over the next couple of years, as well as the 20,000, 30,000 homes they have in waiting, to replace those deployments with Wi-Fi sensing in the homes. And so for that, for example, if you're looking at 50,000 homes, we estimate charging around $40 a month. You're talking about $12, $15, $20 million a year of revenue that can roll into from a company like that, charging, as I said, 50,000 homes, $40 a month. It's just an example of how we'd price things. So there's huge scale in the contracts we're working on. We've got strong partnerships and development going on for implementation in Australia. We're currently launching in Europe and North America, where there's a lot of interest to use this Wi-Fi sensing platform for healthcare. Continuing on from that in defense. So one of the things we're looking at is, for example, here you can see an example where a drone is being used to see where people are inside a building. So if you're looking at police, fire, military or intelligence, trying to build a picture of what's happening inside of a building before they're entering. So for example, in fire rescue, if you want to know where to go inside the building, cameras of CCTVs gone down, cameras are out, people are moving around the building trying to find exits. We can quickly turn on from outside the building, and we can actually find people moving around and find a safe way to enter the building. That includes things like, for example, in the military space where they're doing hostage rescue. The most dangerous thing in that space is entering through into a building that they have no understanding of what's happening inside. Obviously, drones and infrared won't see through walls. And so we're the technology that can help the military see through walls and build a picture of the physical world beyond line of sight. And so they're really interested. We've got partnerships with NATO registered contractors and also other groups around the world who are looking to deploy this for understanding what, as I said, what's happening in the physical world, locating targets and doing things more safely, as opposed to the traditional way where they'll just bust down the door, run in and hope that there's no one standing on the other side ready to engage. So it brings a lot of safety, but it also makes things much more efficient for them in the field. I'm going to share here a bit of a video of some of the examples that we have. So walking through some of the use cases we're working through with the military contractors. So in the first place, we've got field operations where there's trenches and cameras are not able to see what's going on. We've got contractors that are looking to use our Wi-Fi sensing equipment to actually find, as you can see, people here in the field. So we can find people that are beyond line of sight in the field. If there's trench systems, tunnel systems, it helps locate and build plans for execution. As I mentioned in the previous few slides, we also have the drone-based sensor. So here's an example of incidents inside buildings or fires inside buildings. You can put up a drone, you can actually map what's happening inside the building, find anyone relevant, and then extract them safely. And lastly, there's a big focus in North America at the moment on border security. So here's an example where you're trying to make sure that no people that are not supposed to be coming in across the border and into ports are in the ships. So you can send out drones, you can actually scan what's going on the ships, and you can see if there's anyone on those ships that's not meant to be there. So we have a lot of engagement in North America because these are core issues for both. With the tariff warfare going on, obviously there's a lot of pressure on police and military to secure borders. And so that's a big space that we're looking at and working with a number of groups on with drone technology around the world that are trying to get more out of the drones than just cameras and infrared. This becomes a core new capability that they can deploy. So we have had some announcements over the last few months with a number of groups we're working with, and we expect to see more groups implement and then commercialize over the coming months and quarters. So it's a very exciting space for us, the military space. We see it as a very large vertical. So talking about those verticals that we're addressing, we've got the healthcare market and the aged care market, which is absolutely huge. We are really transforming those markets. It's a $180 billion market. We can capture a lot of the value in that in terms of the in-home and facility-based care, where we can reduce the cost of sensing and tracking hardware by about 90%. And so that is a huge space for us. It's a really, we call it the burning bridge because everyone is trying to figure out how to solve the aging population crisis. And the cost of technology is still too high to send it out to the masses. Only the 1%, the 5% can afford high quality in-home and facility-based care, but this democratizes it globally. The home security space is obviously very important to us. It's easy to deploy. We're working with ISPs and telcos. We want them to offer it as an add-on to your internet subscription. So when you get your internet, you can tick a box and essentially map your house for home security so that then you don't have to buy expensive and intrusive camera systems. So that's another avenue where we see large-scale deployments. You're talking, look, some of these ISPs and telcos in North America, have tens of millions of customers who can offer this for $10 a month. to replace or to augment the camera-based systems, which don't see everywhere and won't actually protect you in many places where you don't have the camera systems. Then rolling on from that, I mentioned the huge military and policing market is an area of focus. Military and policing, and actually retail has come in very fast. As I mentioned, we've got a lot of customers in the retail space trying to get in-store intelligence. And military policing is a big vertical that we actually are doing really well in. We've got some strong advisory team members supporting us in that, and I think there's some really positive news coming in that area over the coming weeks and months. So looking forward to share more on that. Just talking about some of the examples of the deals that we've put together. So we've got aged care and military groups in Canada that we're working with. We've got some ISPs in the US that are looking to deploy this, as I mentioned, on top of their subscriptions and their enterprise services. We've got military groups across Europe now. So since then, it was United Kingdom when we put this deck together, but we've now got multiple groups across Europe that are now implementing this system. They're implementing it, integrating it onto their drones and deploying it out across Europe for their global customer bases. We've got large hotel chains looking at this again. The aging population is traveling. They're going to hotels and there's no care available for people when they're inside their hotel rooms for falls, strokes, and things like this. So there are plans for this to be offered as an optional service in hotels around the world to make things safer. And we've got some large chains that we're talking to about this. In Southeast Asia, we've got a number of ISPs that we're working with, looking to provide aged care, healthcare in their markets. And also in Australia, the leading aged care service provider in Australia, 50,000 homes, has made some purchases and is starting to deploy that across their very large customer base. And one of the reasons that this solves a lot of problems in that aged care space is that traditional technology needs specialists to come in, electricians to come in and install these things in roofs and in buildings. And this is obviously expensive, but also it's very hard to get that type of specialty service for low value jobs. So that's why they've got already 20,000 homes waiting to be deployed. So this gives them a way that without any electrician, they can go in and deploy this technology and move much faster through the wait list of customers that they have. So some of the just some samples of the platform in use here. We've got the example of home security, military defense. We're really looking at what's happening inside buildings, aged care, healthcare, where we can pull out heart rates, where we can pull out breathing patterns, we can get proof of life. And this also comes to emergency rescue. And then the retail space where we can build up heat maps, intelligence around what's happening in your store to optimize store layout. Competitive analysis, I think, is a really important thing to share. So this technology, whilst it seems very innovative, it's not brand new and we're not the only group in the space. And that's something I really wanted to make sure when we launched this company, that we weren't the first, we didn't have to educate the market. There are some very good companies in this space in actually the US only that are doing this, where they're providing it as a proprietary box. It's a piece of hardware that you have to buy and install for the house. And we're doing it very differently, where we're offering it as an open source product. And that's why the drone manufacturers, the aged care companies, the retail companies can build their own products on our API base instead of having to buy hardware, which means that it can be deployed in far more opportunities, and means the scale for us, the blue sky for us, is much larger. And we're not controlling how people use it. So they can train new events, build really interesting use cases, even in healthcare, that are better than the existing Wi-Fi sensing models. So very advanced capabilities, very open capabilities, which means it can be deployed large at scale and doesn't need specialist hardware. It can be deployed through standard Wi-Fi routers or any type of equipment that our customers would like to build and provide to their customers, whether it be military form factor devices or simple in-home 5G SIM card devices. So there's a bit of a summary of us. I think that, touching back on the key points, 15 mil market cap, very experienced management team. We see this as, my previous company, as I mentioned, got to a 400 million market cap. I see this as a company that can get far beyond that, multiples beyond that, given the addressable market, given the early traction, and given the fact that both military and civilian use cases are extremely relevant. And some of the biggest spending markets, aged care and military, are coming in as very strong pipeline growing opportunities for us. We're hitting first revenue, very small market cap. So it's really exciting time for us. And we look forward to keeping everyone involved in what we're doing.
All right. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a meeting with P2P, please send me an email at shamsian@lythampartners.com. That's SHAMSIAN at lythampartners.com. We have additional presentations and fireside chats coming up next, so please stick around for more. Thank you and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Ben.